This is Etude number 1 and Etude number 2 from my new free method book. You can get the free method book, it's a PDF, it's 100 pages long, and there's no sign up required or anything. You can just go to the site. This is classicalguitar.com, or follow the link in the YouTube info section. But let me play you the piece, and then we'll have a lesson on some of the tips that you need to know. This is the first thing in the method book, so like the first things that you'd be playing as an absolute beginner. So there's lots of things to talk about, but first let me just go through the pieces. So Etude number 1 focuses on the melody. It's just open strings with the right hand, and I am alternation is the main focus. And then Etude number 2 is an arpeggio piece, and so sustaining the notes and using an arpeggio pattern of P-I-M is the main focus. Okay, so let's have a little lesson on the piece, on both of them. So for Etude number 1, it's focused on melody. So before you begin, make sure you've watched the other videos on and the photographs on the site and the lessons on the site about how to sit and how to hold the right hand, so that you have some idea before you begin. But let me just quickly review that. So just make sure you're sitting up straight. The guitar is at generally a 45-degree angle with the head of the guitar at eye level. The right hand, you just want to drop it down, make sure that you have a contact point here in front of the elbow. And then a nice relaxed arch like this. So not down like this. Don't have your arm around the guitar like this. Don't want the guitar like this. So you have to check your posture and your guitar position first. Then you just drop your hand into place. For this piece, I recommend you rest your thumb or anchor the thumb on the 6th string. And then you're going to begin playing the piece. So we're going to use free strokes for this. A free stroke is when the finger plays the string by moving through the string and in towards the palm. So not up and away like this. So you don't want to pluck up and away like this. Students often do that. So not that. If you're down like this, you'll probably end up doing that too. You have to be up high enough here with this joint that your finger can move through the string and into the palm without hitting all these other strings down here. So that's a free stroke, as compared to a rest stroke when you rest on the string below. So we're going to use free strokes for this piece. So you rest your thumb, and one of the ways you might want to start off with is just by counting and playing at the same time. There's only quarter notes and half notes. So quarter notes equal 1 beat, half notes equal 2. So you would count it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you could also practice the piece by saying the right hand fingerings out loud. The most essential thing here is that we're getting practice using the right hand in a melody texture and an arpeggio texture. So you want to make sure you're focusing on that before introducing the left hand and other pieces. So the right hand fingering, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. So just making very clear that using the proper fingers the whole time. I think that just about covers it. Just make sure you're always double checking your guitar position and that your right hand is looking comfortable and it's arched and using free strokes. And that pretty much covers Etude number 1. So you just want to make sure you gain those skills that you need to play melodies when we introduce the left hand. So you want to be really, really good at this piece. It might seem really simple and too simple, but you want to be really good at it and very confident before we move on to more complicated material. So etude number 2 is an arpeggio texture. So arpeggios are played a lot on the guitar, both fingerstyle guitar and classical guitar. So we want to make sure we're good at that. Same thing, double check your posture. Make sure the guitar isn't angled too much or anything like that. Your arm comes down. In this piece, your right hand will float. So it's going to float here. You don't get to anchor any fingers. So it's going to float over the strings, but all your security comes from this contact point here. Some students say when they float their hand that it feels unstable, but just remember, if your arm is coming down here and holding the guitar in place with gravity, your fingers should be able to just move and your hand will remain still. So remember, not down like this, but up like this. One big tip is keep this thumb in front of the fingers. Lots of students go like this, they play and the thumb goes inside the fingers, but that causes a traffic jam. The fingers are competing for space here. You don't want that. You want to make sure that the thumb is in front of the fingers. If your guitar position is bad, it'll be really hard to do. If your guitar position is good, it automatically throws that thumb in front of the fingers. So this piece is pretty much all quarter notes, so you would just be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably you want to just also practice the piece calling out the finger names. Thumb, or P, I, M, I, P, I, M, I, P, I, M, I. Notice when I'm playing the piece, my hand remains very still. It's not bouncing like this. Every time you bounce like that, you lose your place, and suddenly it becomes much harder to find the strings. So keep your hand very nice and still. And you can move fast, but using these small movements, and you'll have plenty of security. In this piece, let all the notes sustain and ring out. So let's not put our fingers back on strings and mute the sound. Let all the notes ring out really nicely. Arpeggios are chords, so essentially you're just playing a chord, but you're playing the notes one at a time. So you just want to be really, really comfortable about that. So you're hovering your hand, you have your contact point here, your guitar position is in place, your thumb is in front of the fingers, and then you just go through it. And the third line gives you some practice just using 2 of the fingers, and the last line, the other 2 fingers. There's a rit at the end, or ritardando. That just means slowing down before you stop. Think of it as driving a car and you're approaching a stop sign. You don't want to slam on the brakes at the last minute because your passengers will be flung in their seats. You want to slow down gradually so that people are ready for the end. So the last line it kind of prepares them that, oh, the piece is winding down. So you want to make sure that you prepare them for the ending of the piece. So both of these pieces, although very, very simple, train you to do right hand playing, but they also teach you how to play full pieces. So instead of exercises at the beginning of the book, I decided to have these pieces so that you could learn performance skills. So you should practice performing these pieces from start to finish as a performance. So no, try to cover up your mistakes, no funny faces if you make a mistake. You want to present it as if you're a professional performer. That way you can be a very good musician even from the beginning. Just because you're a beginner doesn't mean that you have to be a bad musician. So you get to present these full pieces. Youth students love this because they can play a piece on the very first lesson, present it to their parents or their teacher, and get lots of praise back for actually learning an entire piece. It might be a simple piece, but they're learning how to play music as a good musician right from the very beginning. So next time we'll be covering the 5 melodies and the introduction of some notes in the left hand, and going from there. Keep in mind there's also a youth supplement, so that introduces reading the staff a little bit more gradually, and introduces the left hand notes a little bit more gradually. So you can check that out too. Just follow that link in the YouTube info section.